Firestone, Randy Peterson, Kimberly Pressler back here with you in Vegas. Our continuing coverage of USA versus the world through 3 frames. We're essentially tied at 3 apiece in the individual battles. The total pins advantage for now for Team USA. The first time they've had the total pin advantage. And again, total pins when this one is all done worth 3 points. The individual matchups each worth 1. Michael Haugen with a big lead right now over Kimmo Lehtonen. Kimmo missing the head pin. Gets a little help on the tail end of that one.
Was it Jason Belmonte who said just a while ago that they would be happy if Kimmo just got a mark?
And Kimmo would be happy if he just got a mark.
Oh, and Michael Haugen Jr. is just giving Kimmo a good old-fashioned American beatdown.
3 strikes in a row now for Haugen, who, Randy, was a dual sport threat in his high school days.
I ran cross country and track in high school. I got all league in my senior year in cross country, and I think the fastest 1 mile I ever ran was 4:44. So I had some talent there, but it's a lot of work running around all over the place, you know, and you know, run 10 miles a day or air-conditioned bowling center. It was pretty much no-brainer.
And Michael, your 6th seed, you'll see him in action this coming Friday night on ESPN2. He'll take on the winner of the Jason Belmonte-Wes Malott matchup. Kimmo trying to clean that mess up on the left lane, and more issues for Kimmo.
Yeah, and this is starting to get serious for him. With all the pressure and everything riding on this event, Kimmo has now opened in 2 of the first 4 frames.
Ronnie Russell, 10 better in his individual matchup with Dan McClellan. Russell in the 4th. There's his 2nd strike.
Oh, I like that. Little gamesmanship by Ronnie Russell. Walks in front of Big Dan Mack.
Danny Mack, open frame, strike. And another strike.
Well, that kind of answered Ronnie Russell's strike, didn't it? Unfazed by Ronnie Russell walking in front of him before he steps up on the approach, and he just puts 10 back in the pit.
Wes Malott, your 7 seed in next week's PBA World Championship. Gets them all to drop. Big Nasty with his 2nd strike. Belmo looking for his 3rd and not finding it. And while Jason gets set to try and clean up the spare, we go down lane side. Kimberly standing by with Emleto.
That's right, I'm with Emleto. Now, Emleto, are the 2 lanes playing differently?
Yes, the right lane's hooking a little more, but I'm trying to do the same thing on both lanes. Just soft hand so it doesn't hook too early for me. But there are about a couple boards hooking more the right lane.
Now, you are one of the original international guys that played here in the U.S. in the PBA. What do you think now that so many international guys are coming here to play?
Well, I think it's great that I kind of opened the door. You know, that was about a long time ago. Let's not talk about how many years. But I think it's great because, as we can see, there are great bowlers all over the world. And I think it's a great experience for, you know, all of us to compete against the best bowlers in the world. You know, that's the way it should be.
Exactly. Back to you, Rob.
Amleto, owner of a bowling center in native Venezuela. Sean Rash cleans that one up there in the 4th. Taking on Osku Palermo. Osku, 3 strikes in the first 3 frames. Gets that 2-pin to kick out.
I'm going to go to the shiny one. The shinier one.
And Barnes up 15 over Mika Koivuniemi. His effort in the 4th. There's a 3-bagger for the American. Native of Double Oak, Texas. 12 tour titles, 2 majors on his resume.
Try to get that done now. What's that shirt bet with him?
Koivuniemi, nothing but spares thus far through 3. There we go. Finally a strike for the Big Fin.
Give an eye strike.
Get the hell off my line.
Randy, the holidays may be over, but that doesn't mean you can't continue to shop, right?
Exactly.
Head on over to PBA.com and buy your official PBA merchandise and apparel, shirts, hats, hoodies, polos. Click on the shop tab over at PBA.com. O'Neal leaves the 3-6-10.
O'Neal struggling on the right lane. Everybody else struggling on the left lane.
Yeah, O'Neal with 2 strikes on the left, spare, and then we'll see what happens next. Monticelli, 4 in a row, an international Hambo. He is dialed in. Right lane, left lane, doesn't matter. O'Neal trying to clean this one up in the 4th. And he does. And that'll put an end to frame number 4. So Monticelli, perfect through 4, but the USA extends their total pin lead from 1 to 16 through 4 frames. The PBA USA versus the World Championship is brought to you by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% on car insurance. By Pepsi, the official soft drink of bowling. By Motive Bowling, high-performance equipment with a fresh perspective. Get motivated. And by Lumber Liquidators, hardwood flooring for less. The world team held the total pin lead, Randy, through the first 2 frames. Since then, the pendulum has swung and swung hard in the favor of Team USA. One of the reasons for that, Michael Haugen working on a 3-bagger and has a huge 49-pin lead over Kimmo Lehtonen.
That's good.
Yeah. So here is Haugen.
Well, that was a full yank, but at least he leaves himself with an easy 1-pin spare, single pin spare rather. Can Kimmo get a mark?
Yes, he can.
All right. There's the celebration.
So he had a strike in the 1st, and now one here in the 5th. The director of applause.
Oh, he's working it.
Haugen, who doubles as an assistant coach for the men's bowling team at Arizona State. We mentioned this a couple weeks ago, Randy. Another plug for Mr. Haugen and the Sun Devil program. They're trying to fire up a women's team there at Arizona State. They need a couple more bowlers. No athletic scholarships there, but academic chances are available. Love to see us personally load up that Arizona State women's bowling team, doing our part. McClellan gets the ball to drop.
Hey, this is the same kid that had no breaks the last time he was on a show during the Shark Championship. Remember that?
And the Scorpion Show.
And the Scorpion Show, and he started off kind of rough, but he got a nice little break there on a double kick in the 2-pin.
Finished 5th in the Scorpion and was runner-up after being the #1 seed in the Shark. Ronnie Russell, one of the really good guys who's never won on this tour. Front row.
We call that 4 through the middle, Rob. He actually hit the head pin and got less than half. This ball's going to cut right through the schnoz, and watch this. 3, 4, 6, 7, 9, 10.
Jason Belmont has had some struggles here, but only trails Westmont by 5 in their individual matchup. Belmo on top by 5.
Another messenger from another 2-hander on the all-world side. Look at that.
That messenger had to travel a distance.
That was a plastic ball.
I love the facial expressions here. Osku with a massive 23-pin advantage. And he's set to add on to that, potentially.
Jason Belmonte using plastic, Osku Palermo using urethane. Well, it sure is nice to have that power in your arsenal.
Rash made the communion show earlier this season, gets a strike there. Rash made 3 shows last season.
My best balance I've ever had, staying like that.
Third twice and fourth once.
You're right.
Hasn't won, though, since the USBC Masters back in late October of '07. Barnes, 25 better right now on Mika Koivuniemi. Big Finn working on his only strike of the day. And he still only has 1 strike.
Yeah, and he doesn't like that left lane. Or excuse me, doesn't like the right lane, and the right lane's the good lane.
Barnes looking for.
Well, he really wanted that one. Working on 3 in a row.
Mika. Spare there.
Barnsley's really taking it to his roommate. He's
way to jinx him.
Except for that. Now you know that Mika's really going to give it to him. Chris has got a commanding lead and then just steps up and whips a 10.
And we wrap up our 5th frame. Monicelli looking for an opening 5-bagger. Not finding it.
His first miss of the day. He started perfectly with a front 4, and now he leaves himself with a tough 3-6-9-10 spare conversion attempt.
O'Neal with his 3rd strike of the match.
You know, the world team is in trouble when
I hit the pocket more on the left.
the guys from the U.S. figure out that left lane.
Rattles that one into the cage. So Monicelli remains clean through 5. Team USA led overall by 1 pin after 3 frames. They led by 16 after 4. And that's where we stand after 5. Welcome back to the South Point Bowling Center here in Las Vegas. Our coverage of the USA versus the world in PBA action, and a 24-pin swing there in the 5th frame. The USA was up 16, and now it is the world team on top overall by 8 pins.
So halfway through, the world team has 6 points. The U.S. only 3. Remember, you need 5 points to win.
9 points total out there. Kimo has had a variety of emotions today for us. The head-to-head matchups worth 1 point. The total pins per team, higher value there at 3. Michael Haugen just shy of his 4th strike in his head-to-head matchup with Kimo Letterman.
Because there's 3 points for totals, every pin counts for every player.
Just because you're out of an individual match doesn't mean you're taking out some test balls and trying some stuff out. You are still going for count.
Exactly right.
Ronnie Russell on the left. Dan McClellan, the Canadian, on the right. 3 Finns. 1 Canadian. 1 Australian. 1 Venezuelan. That's Canadian bacon. That's a ham bone right there.
All you folks thought I was crazy when I told you how good that kid was back at the Shark Championship. And see, I told you he was good. Just threw a 4-bagger at you.
Russell's 10-pin won't drop.
Another big, steep, high backswing. Like Dan McClellan, his opponent. But no love on the ring 10.
Belmo gets all 10 to drop, and we head to the international bench. Kimberly with PBA World Championship 5th seed, Mika Koivuniemi.
Mika, you know, there were 3 Finnish competitors with you on this team. Is Finland the new capital or hotspot of bowling?
It's not new. It's always been there. We have been one of the top countries last 50 years, and we only have 4 Finnish guys here, so sadly one of them didn't make this team.
The one who did not make it, Joni Helminen. Team Finland finishing 2nd to USA in the World Championships in Germany last summer as Malat cleans that up. So the Big Nasty remains clean. 3 spares, 3 strikes. Osku Palermo, 4 strikes, working off one here. Working off one in the 5th. Here's his effort coming up in the 6th.
Team USA needs to step it up because they're starting to get it put to them right now. You got McClellan with a 4-bagger. Kimo's got a double. Belmo's got a double. Needs this to close the gap. Oh no, bad time for that.
Spare there for Osku.
Wow.
Takes care of the 2 and not the 10. Here's your more of what matters to you fan question brought to you by the makers of One A Day. Comes from Matthew in Burnsville, Minnesota. Randall. How do lane conditions in the USA compare to those in other countries, and how did the international players have to adjust at the recently completed World Series of Bowling?
Well, Rob, in years past, the lanes were always drier everywhere outside the U.S. But now the rest of the world has caught up with oil patterns because of the technology in oiling machines. So the rest of the world has access to the same technology that we do here in the U.S.
And there's Mika's 2nd strike, both of them coming on that difficult left lane. Mika, the number 5 seed at the upcoming PBA World Championship. There's your top 8 finalists from the recently completed PBA World Series of Bowling. All 8 move on. Here's your 4 seed, Chris Barnes, on how challenging it was.
There's no faking your way through this format. You know, 12 games, 5 different patterns. You know, lack of sleep. It was a mental endurance. It was a physical endurance. The guys that made it this week bowled awfully well. And if they're not the top 8 in the world, they're certainly very close to it.
Barnes in action Saturday, 9 Eastern on ESPN2. The finals coming your way on Sunday. Here is Barnes, his effort in the 6th.
Guys, the U.S. is in trouble. Not only can they not strike now, they're having trouble making spares.
And they're struggling on the right lane, which of the 2 has been the easier.
And they're struggling on the good lane. Now, I know this is a tough competition because the players aren't used to this much time in between each shot. You notice it's starting to get a little quieter on the U.S. side, though? Not as much chirping on that bench.
You're saying that's good.
Not too many reasons to chirp. Monicelli had an opening 4-bagger. 6 spare in the 5th. Here he is in the 6th.
Oh, man.
Big break.
And they're getting all the breaks their way. So instead of 2-8-10, it's just the 2-8. Just when the USA needed an opening. Now, Phil O'Neill working on a strike. It's that time, man. It's time to start striking.
And that trend continues. Oh, my. Shelley chops knocks down the double wood. He remains clean, so after 4 opening strikes, he gets back-to-back spares. And the USA, who had the lead in the 3rd and the 4th, with overall pins, losing it now. Well, that graphic just goes to show you how quickly things can swing. At the end of 4, the USA was on top total pins by 16. 2 frames later, it's the world team on top by 70. Rob Stone, Randy Peterson, welcoming you back to bowling's version of the Ryder Cup, coming your way from Las Vegas. Team USA versus the world. Frame 7, Chemo with the strike. Danny Mack from Team Canada representing the world team, another strike. Jason Belmonte from Australia. You sensing a theme here, Randy? Another strike. Sean Rash in the 7th. Trouble.
There's that hang spot again on the left lane. Notice all the strikes for the international players coming on the right lane.
And an open frame from Sean. So there's your standings through 7 frames. Again, you win 1 point for an individual win, 3 points for the team total. We move now to the 8th frame. Chemo had a strike last frame. Here's an open frame in the 8th. Danny Mack following suit with an open frame of his own.
Open frame and lost count. Michael Haugen Jr. trying to get the rally started for Team USA. Team USA on the right lane. Haugen strikes. Ronnie Russell gets up. That's 10 in the pit. Big Wes Malott looking to keep the string going. There's another one. How about a late rally? Bill O'Neill, keep it going. Team USA right back in this. And then Sean Rash steps up and whiffs a single pin spare.
Team USA put together a minor rally in the 8th frame. They're going to need a major rally in the final 2 frames if they hope to win this event. USA versus the world, coming away from the South Point Bowling Center here in Las Vegas, Nevada, which was also the host to the PBA World Series of Bowling. Michael Haugen Jr. doing his part for Team USA, 44 pin advantage over Chemo Lehtonen. So a pair of strikes there for Haugen.
Well, he's doing his part. He's bowled a great game, can strike out in the 10th frame for 247.
Blows up the rack there, and this Ryder Cup-esque showdown between the USA and the world on the lanes. Ronnie Russell up for Team USA. He's had 3 strikes, but none of them have been paired together. He has an opportunity here to do that in the 9th, down just 28 in his individual matchup. There'll be no strikeout. There'll be no pocket hit either.
He has no clue as to what to do on the left lane.
Come on, Kennedy.
D-Mac did not like that, but he still gets 8 to drop.
Team USA cannot get there unless they string strikes. Ronnie Russell needs to convert here and think about striking out in the 10th frame.
Last shot on that lane, boss.
I almost said good spirit, but then I stole the
Spare.
The overall pin lead at 64. Belmonte with a 29 pin advantage over Wes Malott, and dropping some smack at the Big Nasty.
He's been talking to the Big Nasty throughout the competition.
I mean, and it's worked. Almost another gutter ball from Malott. Belmo looking for 5 in a row and finding it.
I'm just wondering.
Jackson didn't have the best of World Series of bowlings when he got onto television, which he did fine, but once the lights came on, he struggled a little bit. But he's up in his game here today. And big cleanup there for Malott. Sean Rash.
Go ahead, sir.
Back to back to back open frames for the American.
And he gets the ball in the left lane.
Yeah.
I'm not sure he wants to even throw it. Could be a ham bone of opens, Rob.
Oh, just a tad. I mean, I scared myself after the last one over there.
Osku Lerma. I mean, he is just destroying Rash in the head-to-head battle. Making it look easy as the Shark champion.
How about Osku says, you know what? Having such a good time, let me just throw it with one hand this time. Rash failed to convert the 310, so it is a ham bone of opens
frames, yeah,
for Rash.
And it's nothing to be proud of. This is a tight one. Chris Barnes needs to hold on to this.
Just to have the bragging rights for, between the roomies, right? Who gets to control the remote.
Messenger. Little hip check.
Oh, and Mika's going to... What was that?
It's hard not to like Mika. Barnes 4 strikes, but he's working off a spare. Here he is in the 9th.
Really good shot there. Really good. Mika now.
Second strike of the frame for Team USA.
It's a 2-pin match now between him and Mika, and Mika's working on a double.
Spare, spare, open frame, spare. Here he is in the 9th. Avoids the 10. O'Neill looking for 3 in a row. Might be able to steal a point with a late rally here. Messenger! Does not deliver. The scout lost the scent. Could not get the 10 to drop. Leto takes care of that one.
Team USA in big trouble, sir.
O'Neill takes down the 10 as well.
Yeah.
Team USA led in overall pins by 1 after 3 frames, by 16 after 4 frames, and then that lead went away. And now they are in their biggest hole yet with just 1 frame to go. Team World on top by 105 total pins.